And Duncan Gilchrist is in the studio with us. He's a student, a senior at American University, majoring in international studies with a focus on environmental sustainability and global health, and a student activist at UnKoch My Campus. UnKoch mycampus.org is the website.
That's
and right. UnKoch Campus is the Twitter handle at UnKoch Campus.
That's right.
Hey, Duncan, welcome to the program. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Tom.
So, what is a Koch campus?
Yeah, so a Koch campus is a campus receiving funding from the Koch brothers.
And how many? What are the dimensions of this?
Yeah, so to date, about nearly almost 400 universities are receiving money from the Koch brothers across our country, and so this number has shot up in the past decade or so. In 2013, there was about 210 universities across the United States who were receiving funding, and like I said, that number is now close to 400 universities. And so, this is obviously a little bit concerning.
Yeah. Well, is there any evidence that the Kochs are giving money and in exchange for that schools are changing?
Yeah. So, the problem that UnKoch My Campus is attempting to shed light on and really bring into the eye of the public is the fact that when the Koch brothers give money to universities, it takes the form of often grants and gifts. And the contracts that are established when these grants are set up, the contracts that we have uncovered and been able to look at and analyze show that there's an unprecedented degree of control over academic processes that are granted to the Koch brothers, specifically Charles Koch, when these grants are established, and that's concerning for a variety of reasons.
Control of what kind?
Yeah, so we've seen at Florida State University, for example, when there was a contract established between the Florida State University Economics Department and Charles Koch Foundation, that this contract gave the Koch brothers actually control over the hiring process to the economics department. Specifically veto power over.
So only
who is
neoliberal
hired.
Economics, or only neoliberal, these Milton Friedman style, these libertarian economist professors may be hired, basically.
Right, and that's of course. So that's one example of the ways that the Koch brothers will exert influence through these contracts.
Right. So to UnKoch a campus, what do you do?
So that's what we're in the process of working on. I don't think that there is necessarily one avenue. It's a complex problem, and we're trying to approach it in a circumspect way. But for example, so I go to American University, and the campaign that we're running on my campus is more so preventative in nature. We're trying to sort of get at the problem before it becomes too big.
So American University does not yet have the Koch brothers running your econ department.
Exactly. And so we are looking to put policies in place, academic policies that somehow regulate the degree of influence that external donors are afforded when they set up these contracts.
Yeah. It's got to be a tough thing, though, for a university administrator in these days of continuous cuts in federal funding. I mean, Reagan did away with free college in California when he was governor there. Then when he became president, he put Bill Bennett in charge of the education department, the guy who had run for president in 1976 on the platform of doing away with the education department. And, we've seen nothing but cuts to public education since then. I mean, basically since 1980, every single year it's gotten harder and more expensive to get into college and to attend college. This explosion of student debt, and so colleges are strapped like this. I mean, when I was going to college in the '60s, 80% of college education, 80% of the cost of tuition was paid for by government. Now it's about 20%, and so we've flipped that upside down.
Yeah.
So what do you say to a college administrator who's like, we're running on a really tight budget, and these guys are offering us millions of dollars?
Right. So I guess what we would say is, of course, universities rely on funding, but that funding shouldn't come at the expense of the academic freedom of the professors, and also at the expense of, regular academic policies that allows the university to function. So yes, of course, universities need funding, but from whom? And
with what strings attached.
With what strings attached, exactly.
Yeah. Would you say that if the Kochs wanted to give, $5 or $10 million or whatever it is, if they wanted to give money to a university and say, here's a gift, good luck, that's not a problem. But if they're saying, here's a gift, you got to do it my way or the highway, that is the problem. Is that and are these kind of restricted gifts common in academia, or are the Kochs outliers in this?
Right. So the reason that we've chosen to focus our attention on the Koch brothers is because, like I said, the Koch brothers have shown an unprecedented willingness to go far in setting up, stipulations in the contract that award them an unprecedented degree of control over academic processes.
So it's literally unprecedented. This is something that has not happened before.
Yeah, and it's unprecedented in the breadth of the funding, and also, like I said, in the extent to which they sort of give themselves undue influence.
So if somebody watching or listening right now is a student at a university in the United States and they'd like to know, A, how much influence do the Kochs have over what I'm learning in history class or in econ, or in politics, political science, I'm assuming, I don't know exactly where they're putting their money. I know a lot of it's going into econ. What can they do?
Yeah, well, I mean, first off, I would, check out our website. It's www.unkochmycampus.org. Okay. On our website, we have an interactive database that lists all of the universities that that have received funding to date, and there's plenty of other links where you can find out more information as to where we got that information, and reach out to us, start up a chapter of UnKoch My Campus, and figure out how you can implement solutions on your campus to make sure that in the future, people with a lot of money can't just come to your campus and dictate what is being taught, who's teaching it, and yeah.
And for people who might be watching who are past the years of going to college, what can they do to support what you're doing?
So just, be aware of this issue, that it is a growing issue, and understand how it's directly related to public funding for higher education. Because like you mentioned, as the funding for public education declines, the situation where a university funding becomes more attractive to a university from the Koch brothers and other organizations that are willing to give
they get
that
more
money.
And more desperate.
Right.
Wouldn't a reasonable solution that would cut the Koch brothers out altogether be Bernie Sanders' proposal that we put a small tax on Wall Street and take the money that it generates and give free college tuition to pretty much everybody in the United States?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I'm a supporter of Bernie Sanders personally, and I think that his criticism of the Koch brothers is spot on. He focuses a lot about how the Koch brothers have influenced our political system, and really what they're doing is that they're expanding their domain of influence to the university, and that's extremely problematic.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, of course, Bernie Sanders.
In fact, they have talked about influencing young people. Let's create a generation, which is not in and of itself necessarily nefarious or illegal or anything like that. It's, they want to get their point of view out there. It's just that it's a very unique point of view. But the whole idea of academic freedom should be, let's debate things, let's discuss things, let's be exposed to a wide range of opinions. And they're basically shutting that down, it seems.
Absolutely. And, we've had critics of what we were doing say, these efforts to obtain these contracts, these efforts to increase transparency on campuses is an affront on the diversity of ideas on our campuses. Right. And, of course, a diversity of ideas is absolutely necessary to a university.
Sure.
But the question that we're asking is, who determines what ideas are being discussed, and what determines what ideas are being discussed?
And should the Kochs. Duncan Gilchrist, student at the American University, UnKochMyCampus.org is the website.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Duncan Gilchrist, UnKochMyCampus.org. Thanks for dropping by today.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me.
Great to have you with us.